Hi, this is the Game Award nominations. We're Two Souls, and we got some problems with some of the nominations. So we're going to talk about that today. Let's get into this. And you can hear like the shadow, like character over there, like calling your name. You can hear like the sound of like the environment.
I've heard it's good, but I've heard it's pretty redundant. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's a lot of fun. It's very violent.
They decided like, let's use color and like, let's go crazy and let's have fun with this. And I love it. Hi. And thank you for joining us today. This is Two Souls. My name is Giorgio and Marco, one of your co-hosts, joined by Marco Mera, the other co-host.
Hello.
Today we're going to go over the nominations for Game Awards. Yes. So there's not going to be any news. We normally do news. We're gonna curtail that for today, and we're going to go over the nominations for the Game Awards. So there's a lot of categories here. Just for the sake of transparency, we're not going to go over any of the esport ones or the content creator of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. And some of these we're going to spend a little more time talking about. And some of these we're going to discuss for a bit and then give our predictions. You know, we're going to go one by one, ending with the Game of the Year category, which is interesting little lineup there. Given the year.
It's different in... It's quite different from what I thought was going to be up there.
Yeah, I was expecting certain things, but we're not seeing those.
Yeah, there's some of them that are like, they make sense, but
yes,
we'll get there.
Why don't you open us up with the most anticipated game?
So, out of the most anticipated games, we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we have Hades 2, we have Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, there's Star Wars Outlaws, and then there's Tekken 8.
Interesting.
And so those are all the anticipated games.
It's a good list.
It is a good list. I'm excited most for Rebirth. I feel like Rebirth is probably going to win on that one, to be honest.
I have a feeling it's going to win on that one too.
Yeah, it's got too much cachet.
So here's my thing, is I can see how that would win the category. I also see how like a Hades 2 could come and sweep in, because that is a fan favorite. You know, Hades like won.
Yeah.
So Hades has won like a lot of Game Awards in the past, like the year that it was released in particular. There was a lot of categories that it swept, like in lieu of other games that people were like, oh no, that's probably going to win. Like Hades ended up winning. So I can see Hades 2, this is Supergiant Games' first sequel. Hades 1 is fantastic. I could definitely see how that could maybe win. That being said, I think it's going to be between the Final Fantasy 2 Rebirth and Hades 2, which one of those will win, because these are Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. This is I feel like where Remake was like this whole new like vision for 7, and then Rebirth is like where they're actually really like kind of cracking it open, where they're like, okay, now we're gonna go like really crazy, because a lot of the stuff we saw in 7 was, I mean, granted, it was amazing. I'm not trying to take away from that at all, but it was also kind of within expectation, so to speak. You know?
I mean, we knew from before, like, 7 Remake was going to go over Midgar, and it went over Midgar.
Yes.
So, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's more contained, especially with Rebirth, since now we're out of Midgar. We already know it's going to be, like, open world. We've already seen what that is going to pretty much look like on the final product. Obviously, it's going to be a lot bigger. The demos were pretty restrained from what the game's supposed to be like the final release. But yeah, I agree. This one's going to be a lot bigger and all that. Personally, I think it's honestly, like, looking over these and thinking through, like, I think it's probably going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Tekken. Because Tekken 8 has been, like, there's been a lot of build-up to this one, especially since 7. Like, 7, I can't remember exactly when that came out, but 7 came out a while ago. And that game stayed for a long time because... Yeah, it came out 2015. That one stayed for a really long time because it's like apparently like one of the better Tekkens. They got like all the mechanics like really tight and stuff like that. I'm not really a huge Tekken player, so I can't speak to it super like clearly.
A lot of steam power with that one.
Yeah, but I do know enough like with the FGC and stuff like that. Like it's this one's a really big deal. So, and everyone says it feels great from like demos and stuff like that. People are saying it's one of the better feeling Tekkens. So I could see that one being like another runner-up for that, but
yeah,
that's basically That's basically it for most anticipated.
Yeah. Just quick shout out. Star Wars Outlaws looks pretty sick.
Yes.
Looks like a really good like Star Wars game. It actually feels grounded. You
Yeah.
know? And then Like a Dragon, I heard that game is going to be enormous. I heard that there is actually JRPGs in the JRPG. Like,
Really?
there's games inside the game, so
It's kind of like Eastward.
it's pretty nuts.
Didn't Eastward have that too?
Yes, it did. Moving on, we got Best Multiplayer presented by Discord. So you got Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian Studios, got Blizzard Entertainment's Diablo 4, Recreate Games' Party Animals, Capcom with Street Fighter 6, and Nintendo with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is an interesting lineup, I think, for multiplayer games. You know, you've got like Street Fighter 6, and this is like that's more of like a fighter game. So I'm kind of interested. I think it's interesting how they have it in this category. But that being said, I think like if we're talking like pure multiplayer, I think like Mario Brothers Wonder or Baldur's Gate 3, and I think that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win. Because this is multiplayer with Baldur's Gate 3. I have a buddy that we've done some campaigning with. That's like that's an experience that I haven't had.
It's very unique.
Yeah, very unique. So my prediction is that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win. But, you know, shout out to Mario Brothers Wonder. You and we've played quite a bit of that like multiplayer, and it is hilariously fun.
It is a blast with multiple people. Like I can imagine it's a lot of fun by yourself, obviously, but like it's the little crown and like who controls the camera that like
It's so funny
because it swaps like whenever someone dies or if someone gets like the higher on the pole like at the end of a level, it'll swap to whoever was like, you know, last alive or whoever was higher on the pole.
Yes.
And it can be pretty chaotic because one person's like, there's certain ones where you have to go pretty fast, and then like one person's like way ahead of the other one. The other one's just like struggling to keep up, and it's a blast. I think Baldur's Gate. I mean, honestly, this is. I agree. This is a really interesting lineup because I can see like Baldur's Gate, I can see Diablo, and I can see Party Animals in particular out of those three. Because Diablo 4, obviously, I mean, like Diablo's always been like very co-op oriented and stuff like that. This one, I saw a lot of content creators playing with like their buddies and stuff like that, and so I could see that being a winner. I saw the same, like actually really similar kind of situation with Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And then Party Animals was another one I saw pretty similarly. So I could see between those three personally, but it'll be interesting to see because these are all really good multiplayer games. So
Yeah.
But moving on, next we have Best in Sports and Racing. We have EA's Sports FC 24. We have F1 23 by Codemasters EA Sports. There's Forza Motorsports by Turn 10 Studios. There's Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged by Milestone. And then there's The Crew Motorfest by Ubisoft. I haven't played really any of these, to be honest. But I could see Forza. I've been hearing the Hot Wheels is really good, you know.
Played the demo for Hot Wheels.
Yeah, it was fun. It was actually
fast.
They really got like, because a lot of people were talking about that. They got like the scale of things like really right to make it just feel like you're like actually a Hot Wheels, and then like the texturing on some of the things you can see like fingerprints.
But let's be honest,
really
Forza's
cool.
going to win.
Yeah, I think so.
Forza's going to win. I don't see these other ones winning. They could.
They could.
You know, it's not to disparage the game themselves, but Forza is an industry darling. I think it'll win.
That team's working on Fable, which I hope we see more of.
We shall save that for another podcast.
Yes, that's more of like
That's
a teaser.
that's a separate episode.
It's a teaser for I don't know what episode. But
Moving right along, we got Best Sim and Strategy Game. So you got Advanced Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp by Nintendo and Way Forward. Got City Skylines 2 with Colossal Order and Paradox Interactive as the developers. Got Company of Heroes 3 by Relic Entertainment. Fire Emblem Engage by Intelligent Systems and Nintendo. And then Pikmin 4 by Nintendo. So, I don't see Advance Wars winning. It looked really great. From what I heard, it underperformed. I think a lot of people played that. City Skylines 2, that might win. That's got a good shot. You know, City Skylines 1 was, very well received and expanded upon. So I could see that winning. Fire Emblem Engage, isn't that the mobile game?
Is it? I thought that was just the next Fire Emblem.
Let's see. Engage, because I'm pretty sure it's a mobile one. I could be wrong though. Oh yeah, you're right. That is
That's just like the next Fire Emblem.
So that might win. There's a possibility that might win.
I feel like overall this is just kind of like. I think they always have this one like together like sim and strategy, but I feel like that's kind of broad.
Yeah. I feel like you're getting like. If you put a City
was...
Skylines 2 against a Company of Heroes or a Pikmin, like, these are kind of very different.
I get why they're doing it. I mean, I don't want to start nitpicking into the whole thing, but
yeah,
it is kind of broad. Like now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really know. I can only speak to like Advanced Wars, really. Pikmin, I'm assuming. Okay, so Pikmin I can speak to a little bit because from what I've been hearing from a lot of people, there is new stuff to do in it and stuff like that, but there is a level of it just being more Pikmin of like kind of like what Pikmin 3 was. There's just like new Pikmin and stuff like that. Obviously different puzzles. You've got like the dog Pikmin, whatever that you have and stuff too like that. Yeah. But it's like, you're kind of doing the same kind of deal. Fire Emblem Engage, I don't know what the hook is with that game. Because I know, like, I believe Three Houses was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was one before.
Yeah, like, the whole thing with that one was you're doing, like, I forget what it's called, like, but it's like that, oh my gosh, there's, like, a term for it, but it's basically, like, you're, like, kind of almost like Persona, you're, like, you have your classes, and there's a schedule, and there's, relationships with different characters. And that was kind of like the big hook with that game. And then, in terms of combat, you had like I forget what it's called, but it was like that ancient sword or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that like charges up after like a certain amount of like moves or whatever. And then you can use that. It does a lot of damage. And so, with this one, I don't know what the hook is with it, but
it's engaging.
I believe this is also like in that same like part of the story or whatever. Like I think Byleth is in it also and stuff like that.
It just feels like such an action oriented like name to call it.
Engage.
It's like Fire Emblem Engage. Sounds like what like Power Rangers say before they transform.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
but yeah, that's basically it. We're kind of, as I'm sure you can tell, we're kind of getting through these. Spending a little time on them, but we're kind of getting through them because the real.
There's a couple of these we really want to spend some time on.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more time than this, for sure. One of those that will not be the ones we spent that much time on. It's the best family game. Disney Illusion Island by Dalala Studios. Party Animals by Recreate Games. Pikmin 4 by Nintendo. Sonic Superstars by Sonic Team. And then Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I could see Party Animals winning, yeah, but if I were picking, I would probably see Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
I can only speak to Wonder, to be honest, on this list.
Yeah, that's
Wonder's
game's fun.
Wonder is wonderful. Yeah,
wonderful.
It's fantastic. It's really good.
Yeah. Right.
Next, we have Best Fighting Game. There's God of Rock by Modest Studio Brazil and Modest Games. There's Mortal Kombat 1 by NetherRealm Studios and WB Games. There's Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 by Ludosity, Fair Play Labs, and Game Mill Entertainment. Then there's also Pocket Bravery by Statera Studios and P-Cube. And then we have Street Fighter 6 by Capcom.
Yes.
This one I can speak a little more to.
Yes.
Mortal Kombat 1, it's really fun.
Yeah.
There's, from what I know, there's like... It's a lot more... The whole goal with this game was to be a lot less like... like flowcharty with how some of the characters like can combo into things. It's supposed to be a lot more open with more options and more viability, or more viable like strategies and stuff with each character. And they've been updating it a lot to like what the competitive scene has been saying and stuff like that to like kind of tune it up more. Because especially when you see like Sonic Fox play the game, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous. Open. You can do stuff, but
you can do that.
But yeah, but the game's a lot of fun. At our level, we're not like competitive players, like pro competitive players. It's a lot of fun.
I'm competitive, but I'm not.
I'm not a pro player.
I'm not a pro player.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's very violent. It's
Yes.
really, really cool. It's got a great story, for the campaign. It's really good. Nick All-Star Brawl
2,
2 is going to have voice acting on launch,
which is great.
which is great because the first one didn't, and it was kind of weird to play.
kinda silent.
It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
It felt weird.
Punching people, and there's no noises.
Yeah.
It's just
this
it's like comedic slaps.
Yeah, but this one's gonna have voice acting. I don't know if they're like bringing back voice actors for some of these characters, or if they're just using like I'm assuming they're probably just using like pre-recorded clips from like the shows and stuff like that. But a lot of the characters are like original voice actors, which is really cool. And then overall, I've just been hearing a lot of people say it's a lot tighter and a lot more like refined than the first game. It's not incredibly different, but it is a lot more refined and more like satisfying in terms of how you can combo and actually like, finish off people and stuff like that. So that's great. And then Street Fighter 6, it's Street Fighter. They've the whole hook with this game is the whole
Drive gauge,
which is very new, but it is like it works really well.
Yeah, I think Street Fighter 6 is going to win.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think that game, from what I've seen with a lot of community members, are like, this game has a lot of staying power. The drive gauge they're still learning things about it. So, I think my guess is on that.
Yeah, I agree.
More than likely winning. So moving on, we got Best RPG. We got Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios. You got Final Fantasy 16, Square Enix, Lies of P by Round 8 Studio and NeoWiz Games, Sea of Stars by Sabotage Studio, and Starfield by Bethesda Game Studios and Bethesda Softworks. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Baldur's Gate 3 is probably going to win this. I think that Baldur's Gate 3 in general is going to sweep most of the categories that it's in, because the game really is just like a tour de force. Like, the stuff that it's doing it's insane. I think that people are going to be playing this game for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and especially like I'm assuming they're probably gonna do like, because it just seems that way. Like, this seems like the perfect kind of game for them to like really just keep refining and like, wringing out whatever bugs are there still.
Yeah.
Which there is a nice handful of them, but there wasn't really anything we ran into. We put I put like 5 to 8 hours on my solo one, and then we did like 12 or so more hours like with our buddy.
Yeah.
It's not like a super substantial amount of time, but
it's been a lot of time with this game.
In all the time, like, we didn't really run into any game breaking bugs.
No, it was very polished.
It was very
The
polished.
Early access was showing.
Yeah, like the only thing I think we ran into was like in co-op, like there was like a couple times where there was like audio problems or something, like when there was conversations going on, but nothing too serious. But I can really see them just like refining all those things, and then like in a few years or so, just being like, okay, here's like a huge expansion or something.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And I agree. I think that's probably going to win Best RPG. There's a lot of really good games here. Starfield's really good. It's another Bethesda game. If you like Bethesda, you'll probably like Starfield.
I don't get why Lies of Peace in here. This should be in the next category. I understand the RPG part, but
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah.
I think part of it is like I'm trying to think like what other RPG came out like this year that would replace that. Like, I can't really like, maybe I don't think you would really call Armored Core an RPG.
No.
That's more of like,
You put Persona 5 Tactics.
I think it came out too late.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
It missed the cutoff.
But yeah, all these games are great. It's going to be interesting to see what it is. I agree. I think Baldur's Gate's going to win. Lies of P is fantastic. All these games are fantastic, honestly. Sea of Stars I could speak to the least, but from what I saw from your playing it, it was really cool. The music's fantastic in that game.
Yeah.
And if you like Chrono Trigger, and this is what I've been hearing, if you like Chrono Trigger, you'll like Sea of Stars.
All right, next up we got Best Action Adventure Game. Got Alan Wake 2 with Remedy Entertainment and Epic Games Publishing making that one. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac Games. Got the Resident Evil 4 Capcom remake. Star Wars Jedi Survivor by Respawn, and then The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's for best action adventure game. I could see Legend of Zelda winning this one. They're going to want to give that something to Zelda. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of people that play this game, so I can see that probably winning. Great game. Great game.
Yeah, I think I could see Tears, Resident Evil 4, and Spider-Man winning. Jedi Survivor, I think, is a really good game. It's a lot better than the first one. Still got some problems with the combat. And it
feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be.
It feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be, and there's a lot of inconsistencies with the way that things end up playing out. Like, I actually have some videos of, like, some stuff that, like, I ran into of, like, hitboxes just being way too big. It didn't make any sense.
I have some text messages from you when you were dealing with said hitboxes.
But yeah, I think I'd probably put my money on, personally, in terms of my enjoyment, RE4 or Spider-Man 2. What about you?
For this one, I'd put it probably either within, for action adventure. I'm in between Tears of the Kingdom and like Spider-Man 2 probably. On this one, yeah. For action adventure.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see that.
Cool. All right.
Next, we have Best Action Game. Now we've got From Software's Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. We have Dambuster Studios' Dead Island 2. We have One More Level and 505 Games' Ghost Runner 2. We have Tango Gameworks and Bethesda Softworks' Hi-Fi Rush. And then we have Gunfire Games and Gearbox Publishing, Remnant 2. This time we're not from the ashes. We're just a sequel.
It's just a straight sequel.
It's just a sequel.
Which one do you think is going to win?
This is like pretty... So Hi-Fi Rush I spent a little bit of time with. It felt really good. I just realized, honestly, with that one in particular, which is kind of funny because I love music and stuff like that, I don't really like rhythm games.
Yeah, you're telling me.
They're not necessarily my thing, you know? I don't mind if a game has rhythm to it, but like dedicated rhythm games just don't really grab me too much.
And an interesting decision, too, considering that this was made by Shinji Mikami. This is a Resident Evil director.
Yeah, it's like...
this next.
It's like...
It's a very bright game.
It's very bright. It's almost like Beautiful Joe kind of like colors and like aesthetic. It's like comic booky looking kind of, you know, aesthetic. And it's like a rhythm game. It's like a combat rhythm game. It felt good. A lot of people say it's like amazing. So I still kind of have that on my list to go back to at some point. Remnant 2 I've heard is fantastic. Ghost Runner 2 looked great. And Ghost Runner 1 felt really good. Dead Island, I've heard it, you know... I've heard it's good, but I've heard it's pretty redundant.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty redundant.
Personally, I want Armored Core to win. And I feel like that one has the most merit for it. In a lot of regards, just in terms of like the game feels really good. It's still a very unique kind of gameplay because there hasn't been really anyone to try to do like mech combat like that the way FromSoft has been doing it with Armored Core, and it's more refined and it's more like Miyazaki From Software than like the older ones used to be. And it's great, you know. But I also think it has this thing with it with the way that it's formatted where it's like whenever I want mech combat, I'm going to just load that up. Like there's not really like I don't think I'm ever going to like stop playing the game, so to speak.
No.
Like I'm just going to keep going, roll into like New Game Plus, and whenever I want to do mech combat, I'm going to load that up.
Yeah, I think that Armored Core is probably going to win, and I think another possibility would probably be Remnant 2. So I've heard a lot of good things about that. All right, cool. Well, we shall find out soon, yeah? All right, so Best VR AR Game. Got Gran Turismo 7 by Polyphony Digital. Humanity, I don't know what that is, by The LTD.
I think it's THA.
The LTD.
The LTD.
Horizon Call of the Mountain by Guerrilla Games. Resident Evil Village VR Mode by Capcom, and then Synapses by In Dreams. I could see Call of the Mountain winning that one.
I can see Call of the Mountain or Village.
Yeah, I think Call of the Mountain's more than likely going to win that. Again, Horizon.
It's also
a lot of people like that.
It's also like... I don't know about these other games, but this one I can say for sure it was like dedicated VR, was developed for... Because like Resident Evil Village is like... It's VR mode.
Yeah.
You know? That one's like
It was made for it.
Yeah, all the little set pieces were like developed
climbing.
to be.
You know, you're shooting bows.
You're calling mountains.
Yeah,
You're
it's
looking
nuts.
at horizons.
Like, sorry, I can't get to the phone right now. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I could see that winning.
Cool.
Next, we have Best Mobile Game. We have
Yes.
Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis by Applebot and Square Enix. We have Honkai Star Rail by Hoyoverse. That's the people who do Genshin Impact.
Yes.
We have Hello Kitty Island Adventures. That one I think is going to win personally. By Sunblink Entertainment. We have Monster Hunter Now by Niantic. And then we have Terra Nil by Free Lives, Devolver, and Netflix.
Yeah. Netflix.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah. Terra Nil.
It's a spicy a meatball in this category.
Yeah, Terra something.
Yeah. Terracotta. More like... Never mind. Okay,
I think we know who's going to win on this one. It's going to be Honkai.
Yeah.
No.
I can say that or Ever Crisis. A lot of people are playing Ever Crisis just because it's like Final Fantasy VII.
But there's no emotional connection to it like I do with my Honkai.
It's like I like the aesthetic of those games, but I'm like, I already know it's going to be like so many hours just to like...
Yeah.
Turns me off.
Gotta grind it out. You know what you don't have to grind out?
What?
Indie games. So, best debut indie games. Okay, you got Cocoon by Geometric Interactive and Interactive. Get it right, you know? And Annapurna Interactive. Got Dredge by Black Salt Games and Team 17. Got Pizza Tower by Tour de Pizza. Venba by Visai Games. And then Viewfinder by Sad Owl Studios and Thunderful Publishing. I could see either Pizza Tower or Dredge winning this. Those are my guesses. My predictions, as it were. I humbly present them.
I can speak to Dredge.
Great game.
It's really cool. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, very vibey.
It's very vibey. If you're like me and you're like, you know, you've got
A little thassylophobic.
ranging from mild to severe, like fear of the ocean.
Yeah.
It's pretty creepy. It's pretty creepy. That one I can speak to. It's really cool. But I've been hearing people, yeah, I agree on Pizza Tower, and then I've been hearing a lot of people talk about Cocoon.
Yeah. I actually have that loaded up on my computer. Maybe if
Is that on Games Pass?
Yes.
I want to check that
Yeah,
out.
I want to check that one out because
Yeah.
I love the whole aesthetic of that.
I was kind of like, for me, I'm like, I don't know. It didn't necessarily catch my eye, and it's not necessarily because of the game. It's just more like the amount of games and the games that were releasing this year. Like, that wasn't really one that stuck out that much to me. But I do want to check it out because I've been hearing a lot of people kind of like ranting and raving
There's
about
only
it.
so many hours in a day.
Yeah, Viewfinder is just an interesting one. That's the one where you take pictures
Yep.
and then you like place them and you can like walk on them. That one I want to check out because I just think the mechanics are really interesting. And this was by who again? Because there's something with this developer. Like there's something they worked on before. I can't remember. That was like kind of a big deal.
I think they were Portal devs, if I remember correctly.
Was that what it was?
Let's verify this. Viewfinder game devs. All right, it's just telling me what their name is.
All right. Well, we can move on from that, but the mechanics look really interesting. I remember seeing just videos of like the mechanics before it was even really like a whole thing, and it's just always like interested me. But I can see Pizza Tower and Cocoon. Those are the ones I've been hearing about a lot. Next, we have Best Independent Game.
Wow.
So the last one was Best Debut Indie Game.
This is just an indie game.
This is just the best one.
There's no debut.
This is the cherry on top. It's the creme de la crepes.
Would you have it? 3 of them were in here that were in the last category.
Yes. We have Cocoon, we have Dave the Diver, we have Dredge, we have Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. So, yeah. Dave the Diver, I can speak to, along with Dredge.
Yeah. Dave the Diver was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, yeah. I don't know if it was that it was like early access when we were playing a lot of it,
It was.
or what it was, but I played that game probably like 6 hours.
Oh, I played way more than that.
I need to see my...
I played like a good 20 hours, 25 hours.
I need to see what my hours are. It felt like 6 hours. It may have been more.
Yeah.
May have been less. But I put a nice few hours into it. I put a nice few hours into it, and I felt like I got what I needed from it. But it was very cool. I liked when you like made a weapon, It does like the. Remember
The guy that puts it together. It's
Yeah,
like
the
an
guy
anime.
puts it together. The little animation for that was like pretty funny.
I could see Sea of Stars winning this. I've spent a little bit of time with that game, but I've heard a lot about it, seen a lot about it even up to now. And Bryce Coe, he's like one of the artists that did a lot of the key artwork for that. I've seen him talking about it since before I knew what the game was, and he posts a lot about it. It's like, yeah, a lot of people love this game. I'm so thankful it's like nominated. So I have a feeling Sea of Stars is probably going to win this one.
The game's super impressive for it being indie.
I'm still, because we've been busy with other games, as you all will know. I still want to go back to that game. I still have it installed. I'm just waiting for that right. Maybe with a holiday break, I'll crack open some Sea of Stars. Best community support: Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios; Cyberpunk 2077 by CD Projekt Red; Destiny 2 by Bungie; Final Fantasy 14 by Square Enix; and No Man's Sky, Hello Games. So, I think these all have things that we could talk about that they did well by their community with. I'm just going to go forward with the prediction, just kind of shoot my shot out into the dark. And I'm going to say Cyberpunk's going to win this. Because they really turned it around and a lot of people like that.
Particular with the whole 2.0 and
Yes.
Phantom Liberty. Yeah.
They were finally able to, after all this time, be able to right the perceived wrongs. And I do applaud them for that. That's great. And I think that the story is what people like. So I think that they'll probably end up getting that. But if not, I could see Final Fantasy 14 getting that.
Or No Man's Sky. You could see both of them.
I think all of these have a good chance at winning.
I think all of them have a good chance of winning. I agree.
People love Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
I've been
Yes.
seeing a lot of hype for that lately.
Yeah. So the thing with
It's
14
an old
too,
game.
it's an old game. The thing with 14 is it released and it was horrible. And then they brought in like a new director, right? And then that guy was
Business team, development team 3 or creative business team 3.
Yeah, and he is the reason why it is still a thing. He like turned it around, started doing updates, made the story actually cool. And I could see that winning and Cyberpunk. But should be interesting to see.
Indeed.
Next we have Best Ongoing Game. We have Apex Legends by Respawn Entertainment, Cyberpunk 2077 by CD Projekt Red, Final Fantasy 14 by Square Enix, Fortnite by Epic Games, and Genshin Impact by Hoyoverse.
My whole
So this is where some of the qualms for me begin with these nominations.
Yes.
I don't think Cyberpunk really counts as an ongoing game because it's a game that released that they've been updating and fixing because it was broken when it came out.
Yeah.
It's not like these other games where they're meant to keep going. It's not like I'd put like No Man's Sky up here instead of Cyberpunk.
I would agree with this.
Because No Man's Sky is continually updated. It's an ongoing game. Cyberpunk's done. Like they've already said that. Phantom Liberty, it's done.
They're working on the next one.
They're
like the sequel.
they're working on the sequel.
That was crazy.
And they're working on the sequel, and I don't think that that's an ongoing game. It's a game that they've been updating forever, again, because it was broken. Thank God it's now fixed. Congratulations to the team. I don't think it's an ongoing game. That's my first qualm with some of these nominations.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with you on
That being said, what I think might win could be Fortnite or like Final Fantasy. Those I think have been going like the longest.
And they did release a new update for 14 this year for Final Fantasy.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that those are probably the two that have the best shot at winning.
Yeah.
Of course, there's always Genshin Impact. There's Hoyoverse. The people that are into that, they're into it.
They're very into it.
Games for Impact. A Space for the Unbound. Mojikin Studio. Chance of Sonar by Rundisk. Goodbye Volcano High by Co-op. Chia by Awakeb. Terra Nil by Free Lives and Venba by Visai. These are games for Impact because a lot of that sound like it's the different languages, yeah?
Yeah.
You catch that?
They're probably like made up languages for the game. Some of them are maybe like languages from other places.
Games for Impact, listen, I'm going to be honest with you, like, the only one I know about on this list is
It's Chia.
Is Chia.
I don't really like the art style for that game.
He's been complaining about that since day one.
Yeah, I don't like the art style for that.
I still have it on my PS5. I haven't checked it yet.
I can't
Again, been busy.
Yeah, I can't speak to any of these based on the simple fact that I know of it. My vote's on Chia.
Same here.
So next, we have innovation in accessibility. Now,
This is a big deal.
yes, number one is Diablo 4 by Blizzard Entertainment, Forza Motorsports by Turn 10 Studios, Hi-Fi Rush by Tango Gameworks, Marvel Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac, Mortal Kombat 1 by NetherRealm Studios, and Street Fighter 6 by Capcom. I actually haven't really gone through all of the accessibility features for these, but I have heard that I believe Diablo is the one that's like pretty robust with a lot of its accessibility.
Yeah, they are. Hi-Fi Rush has a lot of accessibility features as well.
Yes,
for people who like have issues with like certain like color blindness, well, like rhythmically challenged. You can change that stuff around. So yeah.
But yeah, my vote's on Hi-Fi Rush and Diablo 4 because those are the ones I know a little bit more about.
Yeah.
In terms of accessibility, but we will see.
Yes, we shall. Now on to some juicier stuff.
Yes. Now we're into the home stretch.
Now we're getting into home stretch, which is also where we want to spend a little bit of time, just a little bit, not too much. It's a long list, guys. Long list.
Very long list.
But I think we're making great progress.
A lot of games this year.
It's been one banger of a year for
year.
games. This feels like 2009.
A year
Was
that
it
shall be
2009?
remembered. 2007. That's what
Seven.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah, where it's like Gears 2, Halo 3,
BioShock.
BioShock.
Yes.
Didn't Modern Warfare 4 come out? Or Modern Warfare 1?
Yep.
Oh, that was a great year.
That year
was
was
such a good
nuts,
year.
dude.
Yeah.
Nuts. You know what else was nuts? Some of the performances this year.
Yes.
For best performance, we have Ben Starr for Final Fantasy 16, Cameron Monaghan for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba for Cyberpunk 2077, Melanie Liburd for Alan Wake 2, Neil Newborn for Baldur's Gate 3, and then Yuri Lowenthal for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. A lot of really good performances this year.
Yes.
Yes. I can see this going to a lot of these people.
I can see it going to a lot of them.
I have a personal pick, though.
Ben Starr.
Ben Starr. All the way.
I agree with that. Idris, I can't speak to. He's really the only one on here I can't.
Yes.
I think all these are pretty clear. To be clear on particularly the Baldur's Gate nominee, Neil Newborn, he did Asterion. Just for those who don't know, because all the other ones are pretty obvious. And Yuri Lowenthal's like Spider-Man, he's Peter.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see it going to like honestly any of these.
Me too.
I think the only one I would say I don't think is going to win more than anything, not because the performance was bad, but more than anything just because like all these games are pretty performance focused, and like I think the one that was in some regard the least performance focused was like Spider-Man, because it's like there's a lot about it that you're like Spider-Man himself, and a lot of it's just being able to flip around and stuff like that. And again, I'm not trying to like hit, like Yuri Lowenthal's Peter is really really good. He fits really well as Peter Parker, and he did a fantastic job. Though again, just overall, like Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake, all these games are like a lot more performance focused in terms of like how it's written and stuff like that. So I can see going to a lot of them. But yeah, my bet's on Ben Starr. He did a fantastic job, and
There's certain lines in that game that were delivered so well.
yeah,
And there's certain story beats, so we will not spoil them for our listeners here, but there were things that he had gone through in his own life that matched up
yes,
shockingly with like the stuff that was going on in the game. And you can hear that in the performances.
yes.
There's some parts where it literally gave me chills where I'm like, man, that is some performance.
There's
like this man's feeling
There's
this.
certain lines in that game that I think people are going to be talking about like years from now as like, man, that line, like when he said that in that moment, like, dude, that was like so impactful.
Yes.
And I think just overall, like, Final Fantasy 16 is one of those games that was, I think, shockingly and also not so shockingly, like, was pretty polarizing when it came out.
Yeah.
Like, the general consensus is that the game was like really good.
Yeah.
but within that, there was a lot of people that like hated certain aspects about it, and then there's a lot of people like you and I who kind of honestly like loved every aspect about it. That being said, like I think in a whole, and then his performance being one factor in that, or one standout factor in that, like I think overall Final Fantasy 16 is a game that people are going to be talking about for quite some time, and especially as time goes on and people look back, they're going to have an interesting like perspective on it and like the remembrance of it. But
also a little shout out to Melanie for Alan Wake 2.
yes,
You know, she voiced and performed Saga,
Yes.
like the detective.
Saga Anderson.
That she did a great job.
She did fantastic.
She did such a good job. Like, so I again, like I can see any of these winning. I think Ben Starr might win. I kind of hope he does.
Yeah.
He had a really big impact, and that's saying a lot considering that
It is-
of these that I've experienced already,
Yeah.
all of them were
Yeah,
fantastic.
this is a hard one to pick. You know, I got to put it with Ben Starr, but this is a hard one to pick because all of these are like really, really good. Next,
sweet.
we have Best Audio Design. We have Alan Wake 2 by Remedy Entertainment. We have Dead Space by Motive Studio. We have Hi-Fi Rush by Tango Gameworks, Marvel Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac, and Resident Evil 4 by Capcom.
A lot of heavy hitters here for audio design.
Yeah. I think the ones that stuck out the most to me was like, honestly, Alan Wake 2 and then Dead Space.
Yep. Same ones that I was thinking.
Like,
Alan Wake 2, there are certain moments where I was specifically thinking like, man, how did you guys mix this? Like, how'd you make this work? Because there's so many things that are coming through at a moment. You've got the performance of the person you're playing as. You've got like, you know, the echo that's like around the corner somewhere that you can hear. Then you can hear like the shadow, like character over there, like calling your name. You can hear like the sound of like the environment. Like it was so well mixed. And then they had that one part of the game that was just awesome.
Yeah,
Give them a little... But yeah, it is.
there's one part where the design of the game and all that, they really put on quite a show for you.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
very unexpected.
It was thunderous.
It was
Some
very
say.
thunderous.
Thunderous.
It was very dark. It was very spooky.
What was spooky was Dead Space. So Dead Space.
I'm like torn between these two because I honestly kind of like both of them like just as much for like kind of different reasons.
Yep.
I mean, like it is the same in the sense of like it was like the atmosphere that they built with like the audio design and stuff like that. But like Alan Wake, it was a lot of the stuff you're saying, like the whispers and then you know that one part where they really put on a show for you. You know.
I like the sound of like the flashlight when you shine them.
I also like it like when you really just keep. I'm doing this because we have the paddles on, but when you keep like tapping like the flashlight button, if you do it really fast, they'll like pull the flashlight out, and if you stare at the flashlight, it just like zoop,
it just zooms back into there.
Yeah, it just goes to your pocket. But Dead Space, it's literally like, I mean, they did this in the original one too. It is so like harrowing when you're just in there and you hear this like industrial like mining space like space age like machinery like echoing through this entire like ship. It's like it's really impressive, and in this one it's like, because it's impressive in the original one, this one it's just like super refined to today's standards of like audio. And yeah, I mean it's just a little different in that sense. It's more like industrial kind of like
Ishimura
atmosphere
itself, like the Ishimura had like such character to it.
Yeah.
Like there are times where you're walking around and you could hear it like settling.
Yeah, you just
Like,
hear like creaking, like
You just hear like certain kind of
Yeah.
creaking and like certain little things just like honestly, like, I could see Dead Space winning this one.
I really could too.
I could see them winning that, and that's saying a lot considering Alan Wake 2 is like phenomenal at this. Hi-Fi Rush, that's clear why the audio design's like a big deal. Like,
a rhythm game,
It's a
there's
rhythm
music,
game,
there's all
and
this
it's
stuff.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2's got some cool sounds and stuff too. And Resident Evil 4 was very atmospheric as well. But Dead Space, I think, beats
Yeah, like
Resident Evil 4 for sure.
when I think like just the sound space of all of these games, like, or like the sound stage for all of these games, like, yeah, Dead Space and Alan Wake are the ones that like are the most developed, I feel, like all around to actually create an environment. Because like when I think of Spider-Man, I'm like, I think about like cars honking, I think about like chatter, I think about the punch sound, and I think about the flipping sound.
Yeah.
You know, and those are really the main things that stick out, and they're great, you know, but like the other ones like really create like a whole atmosphere, and it's very unique.
Excellent. Now, moving on. Best score in music. Alan Wake 2 by composer Petri Alanko. Got Baldur's Gate 3 by composer Borislav Slavov. You got Final Fantasy 16 by composer Masayoshi Soken. Hi-Fi Rush by audio director Suichi Kobori. And then you got The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, composed by Nintendo Sound Team. All of these are really great.
Yeah.
All of them are very memorable. I think that if I were voting on this, it would be Final Fantasy 16.
I think the two that really stuck with me was Alan Wake and Final Fantasy 16.
So my counter argument to that would be like Alan Wake 2's like composing was fantastic, especially that one part that we keep talking about. Part's amazing. But as a whole, like from beginning to end, like Final Fantasy 16's music was just glorious.
Yeah, I don't think I would
it was just like from beginning to end. So I think that would probably be the one that I would vote for. Now, which one's gonna win? I don't know. Baldur's Gate 3's in there, and that music is phenomenal,
really good
as well.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom, like I really appreciate what they do with the music. I love it. Like I think it's amazing. But I think these other ones have a little more identity that was like fresh, and new.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Next, we have Best Art Direction. A lot of these are going to get pretty similar moving forward, but
Yes.
because now we're in the final stretch.
Yes.
We got Alan Wake 2 by Remedy Entertainment. We have Hi-Fi Rush by Tango Gameworks. We have Lies of P by Round 8 Studios. We have Super Mario Bros. Wonder by Nintendo. And then The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom by Nintendo. Honestly, I think Lies of P.
Yeah.
I think Lies of P has like the most like astounding art design and art direction, and like we talked about that in our Lies of P episode. They nail that like so freaking well, dude. And it's like it's the gothic horror like Pinocchio thing. It's like those two words just like, or those two terms just like ring very loud and true through like every aspect of that game, and they nailed it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Lies of P was one of the things, and there's a lot of things that was pulling me through that game, but the thing that kept me coming back was that art direction. Like amongst others, it was just like I want to see what else is out there. Like I want to see what else you guys created. Contrastly, Super Mario Brothers Wonder has been just like, and you and I talked about this like even after episode where we're
It's like
playing
eye candy.
We're like they decided like let's use color and like let's go crazy and let's have fun with this, and I love it. So like it's a hard one because Alan Wake 2's got such phenomenal art direction as well. Legend of Zelda, like beautiful game.
The art direction with Alan Wake, where they really excel, I think, is their use of lighting.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily like any environment's like super unique, but it's like the lighting in the environment's like very, very well commanded, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I put my money on Lies of P personally.
You can probably hear our dogs out there guarding. Best Narrative. I've got Alan Wake 2 by Remedy Entertainment, Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian Studios, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty by CD Projekt Red, Final Fantasy 16 by Square Enix, and then Marvel Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac. Heavy hitters, dude.
I really
Heavy
think
hitters.
I really think Baldur's is gonna just.
I think Baldur's
snag
Gate's
this one
gonna
up,
win
dude.
this too.
Because yeah, it's
I don't understand still how they did this.
Yeah.
Like we have save scummed and tried several different ways of going about one thing, like in our group like playthrough. And I'm like, dude, like I don't get how you guys like it's reacting based off of the character who talk. Let me try talking, dude. And that person talks and it's different. Like and that's just one little encounter. Like
it's
astounding. So
it's quite a remarkable piece of work just on like the narrative and how all of the conversation trees like play out and work and all that. Like I can't imagine like writing all of the dialogue and like keeping track of all the trees. Like that must have been so freaking like, because a lot of trees like they kind of just change. Like you think like even like certain Elder Scrolls like Skyrim and stuff like that, like different choices like they lead to different things, but it's like it's still within this like hallway.
Yep.
you know, of like options. And like this one, you can go like pretty far out of the range of like what you were initially going there to do, and like there's dialogue options for that,
Yeah.
you know, and it's really smart how they did all of that.
That being said,
I think,
very special shout out to 2 games.
yeah.
Alan Wake 2.
Yep.
Okay. Amazing the way they told that story.
One of the most intriguing stories I think I've
Yes.
like experienced in a while.
Yes. Yes. And we completed it, and it answers a ton of questions, leaves
Raises
even
new ones.
more that are fresh.
Yeah.
And it is a masterclass in like how to tell a story.
Yeah.
And then you got Final Fantasy 16, which is I love that story so much. Like that is one that I'll be going back to.
It's very heartfelt.
Heartfelt. It not to make it sound like too much, but like it made me appreciate a lot more in my own life. You know, there's just a lot of really good story beats in that I think were just so great. Yeah, there's a couple low points, but like it's easy to overlook those when you've got overall like a game that's that size and is that well told.
Yeah.
So we shall see. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is probably going to win this, but I'd like to see either or not Cyberpunk, Alan Wake 2 or Final Fantasy 16 win one of those.
Yeah, and speaking of Cyberpunk real quickly before we move on, like that's one I haven't played it, but I have heard from a lot of people the story in that's like apparently phenomenal.
I do plan to check it out.
I do plan to check it. We just honestly didn't really schedule that one in there with all the other releases coming out. It's been a jam-packed year, and especially this like last like stretch has been like really, really packed.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, we still plan to go play that one, and you know we'll more than likely mention it in a future pod.
Yes. All right, sweet.
But next we have best adaptation. We have best adaptation. We have Castlevania Nocturne by Powerhouse Animation on Netflix. We have Gran Turismo by PlayStation Productions and Sony Pictures. We have The Last of Us by PlayStation Productions and HBO. We have the Super Mario Bros. Movie by Illumination, Nintendo, and Universal Pictures. And then we also have Twisted Metal by PlayStation Productions and Peacock.
Did you say it like that?
I don't know.
I can't just,
It's Peacock's like NBC, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
funny
Peacock.
story. Remember you go see NBC and you
That's
see
the
that's
Peacock.
the Peacock.
That's the Peacock.
It's a Peacock.
That's where they got the Peacock from.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's on Peacock.
Well, fun fact for y'all.
I saw a clip from Twisted Metal
With what's his face?
with Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie.
Dude,
He was talking to the clown who was telling him
maybe
to go.
it's better, but dude, the clip I saw was like cringe, dude.
I was like, what? He was like telling the clown to like go to the kitchen and make him a sandwich. You're like, dude, like you can't say that to a
Like
clown. You can't say that to. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for best adaptation, I think that it's going to be a tie between Last of Us and the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I completely agree.
And I could absolutely see Last of Us sweeping this. HBO put a lot of money into that adaptation. It is a really good one. I haven't finished it yet. I don't know if I will get to it. Okay, and there is a difference between like the game and then the show.
Yes.
You know, I do want to acknowledge that.
Yes.
I understand that there's a different process to it. And this is a conversation for another time, but you know, just a little breadcrumb trail for our audience. I think that there is a difference between the two mediums, clearly. And in that, there's a lot of things that get lost in translation.
Yeah.
Even if you're trying to do them beat for beat. And so, that being said, as a show,
It's very well produced.
Very
well produced.
Yeah, I think it's very well produced. That being said, Super Mario Brothers movie was just so much fun.
I would like to see Super Mario Bros. Movie win.
I'd love to see that win.
I'd love to see that win.
Yeah.
And I think to just, in like one sentence, put it, for Last of Us, like, much like watching the Watchmen movie,
Yes.
like that, if you like that should encourage you to go read the comic. And much like that, like, if you love the show for Last of Us, that should encourage you to play the game.
Yeah.
Because the game there's a lot that does get missed. But
See what's different.
Yeah.
You know, see how they go about certain things.
you gotta just see them as separate projects, because they are pretty different in like the gravitas of it.
Exactly. Well, moving along, we got Best Game Direction.
Yes.
So you got Alan Wake 2. It's Remedy Entertainment. Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Insomniac Games, Super Mario Bros. Wonder by Nintendo, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom by Nintendo. I think Baldur's Gate is going to win this.
I can see
this
for this. I could see Tears, Baldur's, or Alan. I know that's a lot of them that I could see winning, but they all do, I think, equally like very astounding and impressive like directions of how they even, because it's like there's certain things in all three of those where I'm like, how did you wrangle in the whole team to get it to work this way? Because this is like, that's like how you would want it to work, and then you would probably run into a ton of problems to make it work a different way. But they like actually got it to work the right way.
Well, you do what Nintendo did, and you give them a year after it's completed in order to polish it.
Yeah.
Or you do what Larian Studios did, where they released it in early access and polished each act one at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what Alan Wake 2 did, but they did a phenomenal job, except for
the handful of game-breaking bugs.
The already fixed game-breaking bugs.
You know,
but that being said,
we
don't want to hold that against them.
I don't want that against...
they did fix it.
I don't want to hold that against them because they did fix, like, a lot of them.
Yes.
I think they fixed the majority of them.
I think in terms of pure magnitude of work needed to be done and systems in place and how to get it to work as it does, I really think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win that.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Because the amount of dice rolls that are happening that you see, and then the amount of them that are happening that you just see in your log, it's like...
It's not just narratives. It's like...
It's just actions.
Let me store this barrel that I came across, and then I can use that, and I can place that, or I can... Like, there's so many things.
Let me throw this here, and it's like there's a dice roll to throw it there.
Let me put this thing in someone else's inventory.
Yeah,
there's so many little things that you can do in that game that are just like... You're not limited. You're like limited by your imagination more than anything.
Yeah,
you know,
like you see your character do something, but behind it, there's like a whole system of like checks and balances, seeing like how well you did that.
And again, that's like, saying a lot because like Tears of the Kingdom in particular on this list has so many systems in place that work really well.
They had a lot in Breath, and this one's like this feels like
it's like overload.
It feels like they got all the systems they had in Breath, and then they built these like bridge connecting other systems to connect them in other ways, and they're just like, that was a really like weird way of putting it, but it's a lot more complicated in terms of its design than Breath, and it's quite remarkable.
And now
we're on to the big one, the big kahuna,
the big boy.
This is what we like to call the whale.
Yes.
Of the awards.
The Brendan Fraser of the Game Awards. Is that the whale we're talking about?
No,
I was self-referencing that movie.
But
would you like to do the honors?
We have game of the year. The GOTY.
The GOTY.
The GOTY.
The GOTY.
We have game of the year, and what's going up for game of the year, and this is where really the majority of our qualms come from.
Yes.
We have Alan Wake 2 by Remedy Entertainments. Well, entertainment. It's just one entertainment.
Yeah, they only entertain once.
We have Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian Studios, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac Games, Resident Evil 4 by Capcom, Super Mario Bros. Wonder by Nintendo, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom by Nintendo. I don't know why Mario and RE4 is up here.
Yes.
To be honest.
I'm in the same boat.
It's not to besmirch those games for what they are.
In particular, Resident Evil 4, if I'm going to be very specific. Because, okay, so... And this is where the conversation, I think, in the qualm that we were talking about at the beginning really is. I'm sure as you astute listeners probably picked up on, but we really appreciate and admire Final Fantasy 16. And that is a game that has not been remade yet. And Resident Evil 4 is a remake of, and admittedly, one of the best games that's ever come out. But nonetheless, it's a remake. So why is this up for Game of the Year? Questions.
So for me, it's RE4. I'm like, this is a remake.
Yes.
If you're gonna have this remake,
where's Dead Space?
Because personally, and maybe that's why they're choosing this one, because this one strayed off of the path in good ways.
Yes.
But they strayed off the path from what the original was more than Dead Space. Dead Space, it's like we put it in or you and I talked about it like off pod and stuff like that, but
Off cast.
off the cast.
It was a non-casted conversation.
You play RE4 Remake, and I personally, I'm like, play that one, enjoy it, it's fantastic. Go play the original, also, they're different. And they're both great. And they both give you the same feelings, they're great. Dead Space, I'm like, just play the new one.
Yes.
You know, like, that's how different they are, or that's the difference in the kind of remakes they are.
Yes.
And I think that might be why they chose this one, because it's technically, like, different enough. It's like its own game, in a sense, heavily inspired by the original, if you want to look at it that way. But I enjoyed Dead Space more than 4 Remake, personally.
I did as well.
And in terms of Super Mario Wonder, I'm like, I get it. The game is very well designed. It's got great colors and art. It's super charming, and it's, like, really fun. But it's also like another Mario Brothers. This may seem like a really shallow argument, but I'm like, I would understand if this was like a 3D Mario that had like a new hook and it's like this new thing. Okay, like you get like Odyssey, I'm like, that's like a fresh Mario game. This one's fresh in ways, but it's still at the core a Mario game. It's not very like, it's not like it's like innovating in some like gigantic way. And so for me, I'm like, I don't really know if I really consider that like a game of the year worthy kind of game, in particular with the kind of year we had.
I'm okay with Super Mario Brothers Wonder being there. You got your Wonder Seeds, you got your flowers, little florets. It's great. Okay, I think that when I look at this list, and when I saw the nominations go up, I was like, where's my boy? Like, where's Final Fantasy 16? And it's something you and I've talked about before. I understand that some people didn't like really jive with it, but that game is like, I don't get how people are looking at that game and not going like, wow, look at what they did. Like, that's a game of the year, like, contender. Like, there are certain things that go on in that game that were just so astounding. I'm like, I literally had to like lift my jaw off of like my chest. Where I was like, this is like astounding what I'm looking at. Because I was sitting really weird. I was like,
full prawn
prawn position. But like, I don't understand why that's not here, and I am actually quite bothered by that. I understand Resident Evil 4. I have an immense amount of respect for Capcom in that game, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. Like, it's in my top 3, top 5 for sure. But Final Fantasy 16, I think, is just a game that I don't know if it's a little ahead of its time. I don't know if it just was missing the right amount of things, because it's not perfect. We're not talking about a game being perfect. There's things they could have done better. But the game as a whole, when you're looking at like what it was set out to do, the gameplay that it was offering, the story it was telling, the music, the set pieces. My goodness, the set pieces, man. I'm like, why isn't that here? Like, if I had to pick one to put that in there, because that's the only thing I feel is missing from this list. I'm like, then take Resident Evil 4 off and go ahead and add Final Fantasy 16 in, so it can actually be given a fair shot. Give it a nomination. But Resident Evil 4 is there instead. Add it. Let it be an extra one on the list. But this is a list.
So I don't disagree with you in it not being a perfect game, though I will also say I don't think it's necessarily that far away from being like a perfect game. And I use that kind of loosely because like it's very subjective what a perfect game is.
Would you say it's a masterpiece?
Oh, easily.
Yeah, and I think that's the question to ask, right?
I think it is a very like powerful piece of art in terms of like the kind of game it is, and it's, I think weirdly enough, like I think like Alan Wake 2 and that game are like the most like, they're like paintings.
Yes.
Like the art in it is like literally like the story, the dialogue. It's almost kind of similar to like what would make like a really like artistic, like good movie. It's like
when you watch a movie and you're like, you're wowed by like a scene.
Yeah.
And the way that they framed a shot, and the way that the camera moved, and the way that the actors moved throughout that scene, and the color choice, the composition. There's like a lot of different elements that give it a very specific feel. And for me, I'm like, Final Fantasy 16 had that like in spades.
Yeah. And
it's not here.
It's not here. But
it's not end of the world. I don't want to sound...
No, I get you. To my point, like, for me, I'm like, Alan Wake 2 and that one were like the most like that. The rest of these games are all like game of the year artistic and like more the design.
Yes.
And like the mechanics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With that being said, like the way I look at this one is I look at Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Wonder, and kind of Spider-Man 2. And I'm like, okay, but like where was Lies of P? Because that I think is game of the year worthy.
Yes.
Where was Starfield? Like that was 100% game of the year worthy. Where is that?
Yeah.
And then I look at like Armored Core even, and I'm like, where was Armored Core? Because people get on Armored Core's butt because it's like, oh, it's kind of a short game, and you know the story's kind of simple or whatever. And I'm like, but like, look at what the game's trying to tell you. Like the game's not trying to tell you it's this like super complicated story, or that it's supposed to last forever. It's telling you like, you're building your mech, you can save presets, you're supposed to change your mech and like suit it for each mission, go through it, enjoy it, and then as you learn the game, you can optimize your builds and then go to New Game Plus and then go to New Game Plus. And like even just the format of like, okay, you go to your hangar, you got all your menus and stuff, shop, whatever, parts customization, you've got like VR missions essentially. Then you go into the mission and you launch your mission, you launch your Armored Core and stuff. It's like, it's pretty like obvious. It's like, okay, they want you to like play the game, play a few missions, and they want you to have that thing in your head. You're like, man, I want to freaking like grind metal right now, dude. Like I just want to fly around and do that. Let me go play some Armored Core. And like that game is honestly like, I think it's up there with some of the best design games that have been coming out this year. And so for me, I'm like, I look at like Resident Evil 4, Mario Wonder, and again, also to some extent Spider-Man 2, and I'm like, where were those three though? Because those three, I think, could easily like, starting from like Resident Evil 4, one of those could have taken out, you could have swapped with Resident Evil 4, and then another one of them you could have swapped with Wonder, and then another one you could have swapped with like Spider-Man 2 if it got to that point. Like I get why Spider-Man 2 is there though, don't get me wrong. But that one's like also like, in terms of game of the year and like it being an impactful like experience, or an experience that I can take something away from, or an experience that I know I'm going to look back and remember, or an experience that's going to invade my mind whenever I'm like least thinking about it, like those three aren't necessarily up there.
No.
You know, like Starfield, Lies of P, and Armored Core, those like pop into my head, like even now, like they pop into my head at random times. I'm like, man, I want to go back to Starfield.
Yeah.
Man, I want to go back and play more Lies of P. Man, I want to go back and play some. I still have it in my head where I'm like, I want to just like go and play a couple missions, like start getting back into Armored Core, play a couple missions, like save up, buy more parts, try out this thing. Like I want to try doing a build that's like all rocket launchers and this and that, you know what I mean? And like you optimize your builds and stuff like that, but like all three of those I think hit those categories more than the other three that are on here. You know, like Mario, like it's great, but like you know, more Marios are gonna come. We're gonna get more Mario. It's not like it's, I'm trying to pick my words carefully, but it's not like it's this thing that just came and happened and it's special for that. You know what I mean? Like Mario's like rather serialized. Like we're gonna keep getting those. You know, it's not like every year, but we're gonna keep getting those.
Yeah, I think you know, and I get where you're coming from. I think Super Mario Brothers Wonder being here makes more sense, and especially after we talk about it more, I'm like, no, that now my eyes are kind of set more on Spider-Man 2 and Resident Evil 4. Quite honestly, I think Marvel Spider-Man 2 is there because of the popularity, Resident Evil 4 because of the name. You know, I think Super Mario Brothers Wonder has more right to be on this list than the other two.
I can see that.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 16 to me, I'm like, okay, that's like
missing.
It almost feels like kind of like, and again, like I don't want to be like too extreme with this, but it does feel like almost like kind of like a little disrespectful. I'm like, why isn't this on that list?
Yeah, it seems kind of like a slap in the face.
Yeah,
with that one.
That being said, I digress. Like life goes on. I genuinely, and we've talked about this before. I think like Final Fantasy 16, you've said the same thing. Where like over the years, as time goes on, people are going to appreciate it more and more.
Yeah.
So I think that that's just what's in the cards for that game.
Yeah.
That being said, out of these games, I think Baldur's Gate 3 is probably
I,
going to win.
I think Baldur's Gate 3 is probably
Yeah.
going to win also. I could see Tears winning.
Yeah, I could say that too.
I personally don't really want that to win.
I'd prefer to see Baldur's Gate
I'd
3
prefer to
win.
see Baldur's Gate to win.
Yeah.
Now, I think the next question is, what is your game of the year?
My game of the year is Final Fantasy 16.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, especially for a game that came out like still like towards the beginning of this year. Well, it came out in June, so it's like, you know, the first half of the year. I still think about that game. You know, that's the kind of game
Yeah.
where I know for a decade from now, I'm still going to be thinking about it. It's going
Like,
to pop
you know,
in my head. I'm going to want to play it
real
again.
quick,
Yeah, the way that I would like a Final Fantasy 9 or 7 or, you know.
Yeah.
It's got a different kind of staying power than these other games, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but
I can see that, yeah.
yeah. What about you?
For me, I was in the same boat with you with 16 in literally every regard. And then we played Alan Wake 2. And for me personally, like that game just gelled with me really hard. And I really liked it. I loved the music. I loved how it was like shot and how they were like interspersing and using the like live action footage and stuff like that with like the gameplay, and like you could tell they got the whole lighting and art direction and stuff like that. Like for me, you could tell they got it in line to like work with the live action. And for me, I usually like with games I turn off motion blur and like film grain and stuff like that. This one I left all that stuff because I'm like, they are intending it to be a certain way, and they're trying to tell a particular story, and like it was just so intriguing, you know. It was such an intriguing game, and especially finishing it, I'm like, I'm still thinking about it. You know, I could see how that ending could be like kind of unsatisfying for certain people, but I loved it. I loved it, and I'm like really excited to see what else Remedy does, you know. It's no new news, but you know, Alan Wake and Control are like in the same universe. There's some more little like, you know, little loose ends and stuff in the story, tying those two deeper together. And I'm like super excited to see what those DLCs are going to be. They have one like Night Springs and then Log Cabin or something. But that game's just, you know, the atmosphere, the suspense, the acting, like there's just so much it did that I really liked. You know, I liked how even like each chapter it ends, and they kind of ended almost like an HBO show, like an episode, where it's like it ends and there's like a hard cut, and then there's like some like really stylized music like right after each chapter and stuff like that, and all those songs were like really good. There's some like repeats, but they're really good. And I don't know, the whole experience as a whole, like that one by the end of it did kind of like it's very close to 16 though, I'll be straight. It's very close. It's just like a little bit above. But that was personally my game of the year. I really liked Alan Wake 2. But yeah,
Cool. All right. Well, this has been Two Souls, episode 6.
yes.
And-
This was Game Award noms. We'll be
Yes.
covering Game Awards as well once those are done. We'll talk about them.
Any announcements?
Any
that sort of
announcements and
thing?
such.
Yep.
Click on our channel. Watch some more Two Souls if you like this.
Absolutely.